Hey everyone! Wow, what an explosive week that was. We're finally at Friday. The market went on an absolute bender today after Intel's earnings, just adjusting my mic here. And it looked like the market actually was going to go lower into Friday, and I think it wanted to. And I'm not saying it would have been down 2%, but it looked like we wanted to go into some, maybe see some risk off sentiment going into Friday. But then Intel just blew it away with phenomenal earnings, a blowout quarter, shot the stock up to, if you can believe it, as high as $82, I think. So that would have completely made my shorting my puts on Intel worthless. I got out of that at 63.50, guys. So I was out a long time ago. We had confirmed a breakout. I accepted I was wrong. I took a 5% loss maybe on that trade. And this is the importance of knowing when you're wrong, right? I never said it was a guaranteed win. I said Intel was a guaranteed good risk reward, and it was, but it just broke above resistance. And when you break and confirm above resistance, you GTFO. You don't sit around and hope it comes back, because the probabilities are now tilted against you. You're no longer the casino, you're the gambler when that happens. So that's Intel. I did want to sort of digest the week. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of, it was a choppy week. I'll have to grant. I had some positions I was kind of frustrated that I was in them because they underperformed. Um, so I'll get those out of the way. I'm going to kind of explain what happened there, and then I'm going to get to the good news of the week because we had some solid wins in the money team as well. And I also want to talk about crypto. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about Bitcoin and kind of what my thesis is going into next week on it. So at any rate, let's start with Kratos. I mean, this has been the worst in the worst in breed, in my opinion. It's just gone nothing but straight down ever since I've started talking about it. We got in here, I got stopped out, tried getting in again, got stopped out, and then I gave up around $67 and it went even lower Thursday, Friday. So I think the issue right now is that just anything in aerospace and defense seems to be getting just slaughtered right now as the market goes risk on. So defense, like even Northrop Grumman, I was stopped. I had a very small position in that to start the week. Got stopped out of that. Uh, Lockheed Martin, just they're all just going down together. So there's major sector weakness. I've just moved on from this trade, guys. If it goes up next week, do not come out and ask me if I'm getting back in because the answer is no, categorically. This is just a losing trade. You're not going to have some trades. You're just not going to get right. Same thing with Rigetti. We got into some Rigetti calls up here. It was looking really good, and then what happened, I think, was the now earnings. I think maybe the quantum stocks. I don't really know. They're more hardware than software, but I think there was an overreaction, and we broke the trend line. This can happen when you have an extreme news event. Selling, so in this case, fear can become irrational and drive price temporarily through the trend line. Now, interestingly, I've seen this a lot in my trading. When this happens, usually, you see there's the 50 SMA here. I literally, when this happened, so I sold at I took a pretty big loss on this percentage wise. I should have had my stop in because I was in profit on this trade. So this was just a sloppy trade on my end. It's okay. I made it back today on another trade, and I'll mention that in a second. But this was a rough go. But I'm like, I bet you it comes down to the 50. I said that here because I got out of the trade around 1740 on Thursday, and then sure enough today we went to the 50. So this would not surprise me if we see a reversal next week and this gets above the trend line. Am I going to chase it? I feel like there's other better trades out there right now. The quantum stocks have just been in a really significant downtrend. They had a nice run, but they've just, when they're not going your way, you're better off to steer clear of them and wait for maybe a bull flag to form or something concrete, and ideally be above this 200 day would be even better. Because when we broke out last year, we were above the 200 day the whole time, so it was just a matter of buying off the 50. So if it holds the 50 and gets above the trend line, we can talk about it later. I'm not as anti Rigetti as I am anti Kratos. I might be willing to get back in on this. Same thing with BBAI. We just, it's just not working out right now. But interesting. I didn't look at the BBAI chart today, but you can see we have this historic line of resistance that we actually failed. So we retested it. We keep getting rejected. I can tell you right now, if BBAI can recapture this trend line, it could potentially go on a secular uptrend run. So right now, I'm kind of bottom picking it a little bit. I'm being a bottom fisher, and it's been a rough ride. So I'm out of this position for now, but I would say, I mean, I think I've got a couple shares of BAIG, but I'm really not in where I'm talking about this in the Discord right now. If this gets back above the trend line at 405 is where we keep getting rejected. I want to see a candle get above, and then I want to retest. I get the retest, then guys, I'm in. I'll pay a higher price because that means we have a clear reversal, and then this could go potentially all the way up here over next few months, go to $8. So if I have to pay a little bit more because I see a clear reversal, then guessing the bottom here, then I'm okay with that. So we just went down to 360. We're in this potential bull flag, but I'm not going to front run it. I think I'm just going to let it get above the trend line and then I'll revisit it. So that's Big Bear. Those are the ones that are top of mind. I want to get in. Are there any other losers? Serve, we had a little bit of serve. That one didn't work out. But the I guess the one I really, you can make it back. So this is the thing, guys. I had like 3 pretty bad calls this week. However, I had one really good call and I tripled the loss I took on Rigetti. I tripled my gains on with Hims. So this is all it needs. You just need one big win. And I was saying to everyone, if we come back to that $17, I expected a wick down to hit this descending line in this bull flag. I'm going to buy this. So I actually took profit on my leaps and I said, you know what? I'm not done with this trade. I got back in, told the Discord, and then I got skips. I took a little bit more leverage on it, knowing that we were on major support. If it didn't hold, I would just get out of the trade and take the loss. But we held, and then today we gapped up. We all made, I think, upwards of 55% on our skips. A beautiful position, and I was in with a pretty large position, so that replenished Rigetti very quickly. So that was great. I took about half off the table on Hims, expecting maybe a pullback going into Monday. We will see. We haven't broken out of this flag yet, so this is still an unconfirmed breakout. But honestly, it looks good, guys, because we actually had a confirmed close above this neckline with these 2 candles. We back tested a few times, went higher. Same thing happened with Nvidia. I'm annoyed about Nvidia because it waited me out. It was taking so long to do anything. And as a swing trader, even 5 days can feel like an eternity. So I literally got out. Of course, I think I got shook out the day before this broke out. So I'm pretty frustrated with Nvidia because I called it. And this is the thing. I can be a great technician, guys, and I can have great theories and I can make great calls. But it's also how you trade it. Trading brings in your money, which brings in your emotions, and you can make sloppy decisions. And that's what happened with Nvidia. I made some money scalping this off support a few times, so it's okay. I'm at worst I'm break even on this trade, but my TA was fire. But I think my trading around it was a little bit sloppy, and it's okay. Again, you just need sometimes one win. You don't have to have a huge win rate, guys. It's just about managing the losses responsibly and then just compounding the wins. Even one win, just letting it ride, or going in with a little larger on the high conviction setups and then cutting the ones that fail and not doing hopium. Even App Lovin just seemed to kind of break down. Though I think App Lovin did the same thing as Rigetti. It's holding the 50. I would expect App Lovin next week to actually reclaim this trend line. That's what I'm expecting. I don't know if I want to get back in on it though because I kind of got shook out and I don't like over trading and getting back into trades that I took a loss on. But those are kind of that's a summary of kind of the major trades I had this week. There were quite a few losers, but I mean, my biggest P&L was on him. So that's just that's kind of the education I'm trying to teach you. Even with these 4 losers, I have one big win, and I'm still totally okay going into next week. It wasn't an extremely profitable week for me because I wasn't in the semis. I don't even know if I ended up net positive. I think I may have been down actually, but just the only reason the market is ripping is just semiconductors. They have been literally up 18 days in a row. It's been like an absolute unbelievable move. Mad respect to the semis and the Mag 7. They've been on a roll. They've outdone my expectations. Now, I had a pretty interesting breakthrough. I've actually gone long on crypto. I do want to talk about this because this is another place where, I was just waiting for the signals to align for several weeks now, and I think ultimately I've come to a place where I think Bitcoin is ready to go higher. I'm not saying that we're going to all-time highs this year. I actually don't think that's going to happen. But I think right now, if we go to Bitcoin, there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to try to get this all out in this one video. But what I'll say about Bitcoin is it's very interesting right now. It's at the top of what everyone's calling a bear flag. And I have to say, the fact that every trader, both, elite, both experienced trader and newbie traders are noticing this flag, it makes me think that there's a potential uh, uh, bear trap coming here. The bears are expecting a flush. I actually am of the opinion that we're actually going to break out of this and produce a W pattern. This will end up being a W pattern. And That's kind of where I stand. And the reason I think that is not just because I feel that way and because I have money on the line, which I do. I've gone long on crypto now. But, I just noticed the oil chart and in stocks with Josh made a point of this. I was saying this to my team today privately, and then he also said it in his video. It was very poignant what he said. You know, oil is looking very bearish. We've got this head and shoulders pattern. I actually shorted a little bit up here. I got out a little early on it because I bought shares overnight. And I said, okay, screw it. I'm going to get out and then I'm going to go into options, which I did do. So I got USO options. I'm like break even on them right now. I think we're going to have a pretty good flush in oil going into next week. And the reason for that, so what's the catalyst is like you have to ask yourself. It's great to be a trader and look at the trend lines, which is like 70% of what I do, but there is a portion of where you have to ask yourself, okay, what macroeconomic factor is going to cause this move, right? If you can't answer that, it just lowers the probabilities a decent amount. And what I would say is this weekend we're actually going to get a resolution between Iran and Washington D.C. That's what I'm expecting. I've been very vocal about that in the Discord about starting end of yesterday. I think I started saying that, and I got a little bit more vocal about it today. Bitcoin did nothing today; it just went sideways, and that's totally okay with me, because I think we just saw some rotation into the semi. Not rotation. I mean, all the money's in the semis right now, and I think Bitcoin is just asleep. And I think it will come alive next week. I think we're going to see a pretty good move next week in crypto, as oil moves lower. So that's kind of where I'm aiming on it right now. And I know you have other YouTubers like Gareth Soloway. He's out there saying, the cycle top is in on the Nasdaq, and he could be right, but I would ask him, and I'd love to interview Gareth. I have respect for him, as a trader. He's also made a lot of right calls, and he's also a guy that specializes in trend line analysis, which is what I specialize in. So we have a lot of common ground. But I do want to say, let me just go make sure my video's on this time. Okay, it is. I do want to say that he has to ask himself, what's the catalyst? He's been very vague on that. I know he's super bearish, but what's going to cause the markets to top right now? The war is pretty much on the cusp of ending. We've had, we have a tremendous amount of institutional interest that is actually only getting greater right now. And we have multiple charts, multiple data processing center charts like APLD, Wolf that I was short on. I had to get out of those positions. Cipher, they've all confirmed breakouts. I mean, USAR, I took a position in USAR today in my money team. I mean, these are all confirmed breakouts, guys. Riot is also, I'm going to get to USAR in a second. Riot has confirmed a breakout. I'm not saying it's not ever going to pull back again. It will, but we're above this wedge. We've very clearly confirmed a breakout. I mean, the only regret with Riot, it never came back to retest. Now, USAR, I like USAR a lot because I noticed today that, wow, we broke out of this. This is actually one of my students' trend lines. He brought it to my attention, and then it was a little bit off his lines. I adjusted them slightly, but it's pretty much the same. The essence of it is still there. And he brought to my attention, I'm like, wow, this is a very clear kind of symmetrical triangle pattern. These are basically consolidation patterns, and then until they break one direction, that's when you go long or short. They're neutral. They lean a little bullish, but they can also break to the downside. So we had a decisive break this week on USAR. We had the two candle close that I live and die by. You got to get the two candle close. That's confirmation. Then we retraced. I remember up here, I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying up here, but if it comes down to the trend line, I'm going to go long. And sure enough, we did that today. I basically got in around $22. I averaged down a little bit at the close, and I'm going to sit on this. I would expect, basically, could we come down and maybe test it one more time if the market is choppy on Monday? I'm not thinking it will be, but if it is, we come down to $21, I probably just stay in the position. But if we broke 21, I'm going to stop out and expect price to come to the 50 as well. We'll go to 1850, and I don't want to be in the options on that. I'll take my loss if we lose 21. I'll take probably a 5% loss on that position, maybe closer to 8%. And then I'm going to get back in on the retest of the 50. I'll let it come down about $2. That's kind of how I'm thinking about USAR. But, you take a measured move on that. You can do it many ways. I would say conservatively, I'll take this swing high, this swing low. Some people do the widest part, but to me, that's a little aggressive. But, you could base that actually takes you almost a double top around $45. So I'm going to get into on USAR. I wasn't able to catch the bottom. I should have. The trend lines were telling me to get in, and I didn't. That was great risk reward. There's a little more risk here knowing that this could ultimately be a rug pull, but it's confirmed. So I am in USAR and I'm gonna take a chance on it. That's another one I'm interested in. But ultimately, like I think the thesis is this: crypto, we're in this compression pattern. I've talked about these a lot. Oil did it actually back when it was $55 a barrel. The media was overwhelmingly bearish, and I said, nope, we're going to break out. And we're consolidating. Look at this trend line. It was more like I think down here potentially, something like that. But at any rate, it was consolidating. Some would have thought this was bearish consolidation. It was in a rising channel and it broke to the upside and went on a huge run. I'm not predicting crypto is going to do this. But what I will tell you is we're probably going to get some sort of gap move over the weekend in BTC. So you heard it from me first. I'm expecting by Saturday evening we're going to get a big move in crypto. Either it'll be up or it'll be down, and I hope it's up because I'm going to lose money on Monday if I'm wrong. But right now Bitcoin's just going sideways. I got no issue with this price action. I'm a little nervous seeing this candle on Ethereum. It's sort of right on this trend line, and we kind of want this to get higher tomorrow. Hey, you know what? That's actually adding to my thesis. Even if we close a candle here, if tomorrow we're going to open about here at 2320, let's say, and then if good news drives us back into the channel, then we're cooking for Monday. And I think we could start to see some serious rotation out of the semis into crypto to kind of the lead May, because we have the Coinbase earnings, we have the MicroStrategy earnings, we have Galaxy earnings on Tuesday, we have Robinhood earnings on Tuesday, Galaxy Digital. We've got Circle. I like Circle. I've got calls on Circle right now in addition to Strategy. Circle is in a sort of another wedge pattern. It's been weak, but I think it's just consolidating. I'm in with pretty good position on this. I do not want to see 93.50 get lost. I will stay in my calls if it were to go down here, and I'd get out on a break at 93 with confirmation. It would be like a decent loss, but I'm willing. I mean, the upside on this could be huge because if they had phenomenal earnings last quarter, and I'm noticing a pattern where stocks that had excellent earnings, the smart money is buying that up in anticipation of another excellent report. So I just see I'll just be shocked if this doesn't really move up. Especially if crypto is going to rally next week, this will go higher. And then I want to ultimately see a break of $105. If we can get above there, then we're looking really sweet. We could easily get to retest this 135, and then potentially make new local highs on Circle. I mean, last year we kind of topped out around this 160. So we could get up there. I'm not going to make any near-term promises on that, but what I can tell you is this is reaching its apex. These two lines are going to intersect. This is going to move next week. I will tell you that right now. I just don't know yet which direction it's going to go because this is still somewhat of a neutral pattern, slightly bullish, but if crypto flushes, this is going to go below 93, and I'll have to get out of the position. But I'm still leaning bullish on this trade. I like it. I like Strategy. I didn't like Strategy a month ago, and now I've had to pivot because we've clearly broken out of this inverse head and shoulders. I didn't see that a month ago. It was just literally dotted price on a chart. That's all it was to me until it broke a neckline. When it breaks the neckline, then it's an actual valid pattern. We never got the retrace. I don't expect us to get a retrace because that would be literally down to like 120. Like crypto is going to have to really flush. And I think at this point we go higher before we go lower given the climate. So that's kind of where I'm standing on everything right now. I'm long crypto. I'm pretty much in my full positions. I'm expecting a move over the weekend, in fact, to get us above 80,000. Where would we go on Bitcoin? I think we've got upside potential too. Let me go back to my Bitcoin chart. I think we've got a definite upside potential to this minimum 85K. This at the 200-day. I think we're going to retest that. And if the bears are going to be right, we'll get rejected here and then go lower. But I want to be clear, if we break above this trend line and get to 85K, we've confirmed out of the bear flag. The bear flag is effectively invalidated at that point. So even if you're bearish on this retest, I would expect now a higher low on Bitcoin. I don't think we're going any lower. I don't think we're going into the 40s anymore, which I'm kind of disappointed because I was getting ready to buy down there. But I'm okay to also play this as more of a momentum trade and then get in like a couple days before the breakout. That's what I did with HIMS, but I wasn't touching it for months, and then finally it got above resistance here, and then like the same day it gapped up. So that's one way to trade it too. Those are kind of what I have on my watch for next week, guys. Overall, I think the market is still in a bullish stance. I'm not predicting any rollover right now. I'm not saying we can't get a pullback, but we've broken above resistance. We've confirmed above it. We didn't even retest it. We were so bullish, we just went higher. I would expect in a worst case scenario, we're going to have some consolidation and then we're going to put in another all time high. I just don't see a big pullback, not with the earnings right now. Once we get through Nvidia's earnings, then we can talk about maybe a bit more of a like a 5 to 10% correction. That might be in the cards. We are getting overbought. I'm aware of that too, but no bearish divergence on this chart, guys. These highs are going in sync with these highs. So the price action looks really good. I don't have a lot of bearish commentary unlike a month ago on the market. It's really outdone expectations. This was a total bear trap. We shorted it down here anyways. I made good money shorting it. I lost a little bit of my profits on this recovery and then I got out and we've just ripped. Incredible. So I also have some exposure to BMNR. I'm expecting a move in ETH as well going into maybe towards May. I would expect that. BMNR, earnings are out of the way. I would expect it just to move with Ethereum. Upside target probably around $30. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm not saying it's going to $100. I'm not one of these, perma bulls, right? That I'm making crazy price targets because all the crazy price targets were not met last cycle. Not even close. So, got to follow the charts at the end of the day. And when they tell you to pivot, that's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to be the first one to come out and say it. I'm not going to hide from you and blush that I got something wrong. I'm going to come out and be honest because that's the way we make money in this business is by moving with the market and being, trading as if we're water, right? We don't want to be concrete. Hood also looks good going into earnings. I'm not really going to get into Hood today. That's enough charting for you guys. But that's the alpha I wanted to share with you. Market's leaning bullish next week. I'm not going to say, of course, we could get a couple down days, especially if we have a few earnings misses or we sell the news on some of the Mag 7. Definitely possible, but I'm not seeing rollover right now in the charts. In fact, I think we go higher on Monday. I think some news comes out over the weekend about a potential resolution between Iran and the US. Don't be surprised if we see it. That's what the charts are signaling to me. And we'll see if I'm right. And I'll talk to you all on Monday. And tune in if you're part of the Stocks with Josh Discord. Tune in for Sunday Swingers because I will be going live Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So looking forward to seeing you all there if you're a subscriber. And peace out. Have a good weekend.